Hello, Renzo.
Hi, Maria.
Renzo, I am inspired,
Oh, wow.
and I will tell you why. But that is why I wanted us to discuss in just a Spanish phrase today the expressions el que quiere Celeste que le cueste.
Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, el que quiere celeste que le cueste. First, of course, let's translate it literally to give our listeners a little idea of what this expression is all about. So, how would we say this literally in English? He or they who want
Blues,
light blue,
light blue, he have to
pay extra.
extra do, effort do. But the real translation, it will be like no pain, no gain.
Exactly. No pain, no gain. That one, I'm sure our listeners are familiar with.
And you will see the origin, el que quiere, Celeste que le cueste, and you will understand why
That's right.
that means no pain, no gain. But first, this is just a Spanish phrase. This is a companion podcast to News in Slow Spanish,
where we learn Spanish through current events. News episodes every week that are perfectly tailored for language learners. But here, in Just a Spanish Phrase, obviously the first difference that you'll notice is that we're doing this in English. But that's because we're trying to dive into the origins and cultural significance of common Spanish idioms.
But in News in Slow Spanish, we have common Spanish idioms and the ways to use them, the ways to incorporate them in conversation, everything in Spanish.
Mm-hmm. So come here, listen to the origins of an expression, get inspired, just like Maria is today. Get curious about this phrase, and then go over to News in Slow Spanish and hear that phrase used in a real conversation in Spanish. So, el que quiere celeste que le cueste. No pain, no gain. Maria, why does this phrase has you so inspired today?
Well, I am inspired because I happened to be in New York City last Sunday.
Oh.
And last Sunday was the New York City Marathon. And it's amazing it's impossible not to get inspired when you watch the runners.
One of the most famous races in all of the world.
Yes. I had the opportunity to run it ages ago in
Really?
2009.
I did not know that.
I did.
Well, now you're inspiring me. Okay, but go on.
And, as a runner, it is definitely inspiring. But also, when you are seeing the runners, every single runner has a story behind. Some people are running because, in honor of a departed one. Others are running because their doctors told them not to run and they want to prove them wrong. The more you research about it, the more you find inspiration. But the energy you see in the race is amazing. There's people all along the race screaming for the runners, go, you can do it, come on. But also my favorite part is the finish line at the very end. Like the last runner of this marathon 2025, and bear in mind, it's like 50,000 plus runners. The New York City Marathon is the largest marathon, I believe, in the world, because you don't have to be an elite athlete to run it, like Boston, for example.
Mm-hmm.
It's so many people. It's more for the experience.
Yeah.
And you go through the 5 boroughs and you see people accompany you all along the way. But the last runner of this marathon is a Venezuelan young man who was in a car accident and he lost both his legs. Both his legs. And he did run the marathon with 2 prosthetic legs.
Wow.
He finished in 15 plus hours. He was the last one and people were waiting for him at the finish line.
It must have been at night by then, obviously.
It was at night by then.
Wow, that is inspirational.
It is.
I understand now why you brought up this phrase today. No pain, no gain. This must have been a really grueling I don't know if there was pain involved, but some level of pain, of exhaustion, of fatigue.
Of course, you see him. You can look him up online or on Juan Pablo dos Santos. You can see he's barely making it to the finish line, but he did. You know,
That's amazing.
and you see all sorts of people. You see blind people being guided by companion runners. You see all ages, all shapes, all countries, all races. It is such a beautiful, positive energy community event. But every single person had, azul celeste que le cueste, had to work hard to
Right.
finish that.
That's actually my question because as a marathoner yourself in the past, how would you describe the amount of preparation that you need to put in to run something like that? No pain, no gain, right? That's the expression. El que quiere celeste, que le cueste. So, Maria, how much did it cost?
My body is not made for running. I'm too tall, wide hips, etc. The doctor told me I shouldn't run because of my knees.
Oh, so you were trying to prove him wrong.
I don't know why I did it,
Okay.
and I don't regret it. But it took me at least, I did 9 months of training.
Wow. El que quiere celeste, que le cueste.
And I'm a
Indeed.
slow runner. I did it in 6 hours, 40 minutes. That's a very, very slow pace. But also because I was stopping along the way, because you see live bands, you see gospel music, you see people, kids wanting to high five you. So the day of the race was the easy part because you really enjoy along the way. It's difficult to train on your own when you have to run 20 miles as a practice.
Oh,
you know?
I can't even. The longest I run is a 10K. So what is that?
10K is like 6 miles.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I need like 20
Just-
more.
Yeah, add 20 to that. But let's delve into the origin
Yes.
of El que quiere celeste que le cueste.
I'm going to tell you more about that story right now. And then afterwards, your marathon story reminded me of a very interesting conversation I had recently. But I'll tell you about that after. Okay. So, el que quiere celeste que le cueste. Why celeste? And why does it have anything to do with cost, right? With the pain part of the gain. Well, for that, we have to go back to the Renaissance. Okay? Classical painting. During the Renaissance, if you wanted to commission a painting, you didn't just have to pay for the talent and the time and the size of the painting on the canvas. You also had to factor in the cost of the paints themselves. Now, nowadays, when you use oil paintings, there are variations in price. Or acrylics, they all pretty much cost the same. If you're buying from the same brand, but different colors, they all cost the same. But back then, if you wanted specific pigments, you could see a wild variation in the price.
Interesting.
Now, specifically, imagine you wanted something with light blue or ultramarine blue.
Any blue. For some reason, blue has always been super expensive.
So
it's
expensive.
everywhere in nature, but there's no pigment.
It's very hard to find. And in this particular case, so if you're looking at paintings from the Renaissance period, if you see things with light blue or ultramarine, like the veil on a painting of the Virgin Mary, for example. If you see it's blue, you know it's expensive because to source this pigment, they had to use lapis lazuli or lapis lazuli. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly.
I say lapis lazuli, so
Lapis
I don't
lazuli.
know.
I know. I pronounce it in Spanish too. But this gem, this precious stone, which at the time was imported from Asia, was the only way to get this particular pigment of blue. So as you can imagine, at the peak of demand, when this color was so popular and everybody that was, rich and commissioning a painting wanted it on their canvas, they had to pay up to 4 times the value of gold.
So if you wanted blue, you have to pay. El que quiere celeste, que le cueste.
Exactly. And that's the origin.
And before we finish, because we're running out of time, what was the conversation?
Oh, so you mentioned marathoning. And recently I had a conversation with an ultra marathoner.
That's another level. That's 50 miles plus.
I know. But it's a very different, I think, at least the person that I spoke to, they weren't competing. It really wasn't a focus on speed. It was endurance only. And we're talking about running through the night in many of these races.
It's 24-hour running or more. Yeah,
Yes.
It's crazy.
But what this person was telling me is that they love it. They live for it. Again, they prepare. They put months of training into it. But that they're starting to wonder if it's really worth it. If the gain is worth the pain, because they've been reading articles about the the toll that these ultra marathons have on the body. It goes beyond what a regular race will do, where there's fatigue, there's some damage, but you can recover. Apparently, ultra marathoners experience some like organ damage sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're talking about long-term consequences. So this person is having a kind of a existential crisis. She's wondering if the gain is worth the pain in this case.
That's a very interesting debate,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, we'll have to move that to our rooms. If you want to practice conversation in Spanish about any topic, including is it worth it to run an ultra marathon, join us in rooms. You can find them at newsinstillspanish.com.
Thank you very much, and we're waiting for you there.
Adios.